Hello everyone, welcome back. So today we're going to be looking at the seals of the Prophetic Scroll. This will be broken down into a couple different subsections here. And so today we'll cover the first couple of seals and explain a little bit about what these seals mean. And so this is tackled by Beyond Today. So they will explain a lot about, judgment and why it's needed, and how it will tie into Revelation. Revelation's main prophetic message is unveiled primarily through the 7 sets of symbols sketched on a scroll fastened with 7 successive seals. Jesus Christ breaks the seals and opens the scroll before John's eyes in Revelation 6:1. John sees and describes the symbols of the vision having specific prophetic significance. As we have already seen, Christ alone has the right to unveil the meaning of the seals, but he does not fully explain each seal in its context. In fact, he had already, before his death and resurrection, revealed the seals and the keys we need to understand these seals. This information is recorded in Matthew 24, Mark 13, and Luke 21. The writers of each of these 3 gospel accounts record Jesus' answers to the questions his disciples asked him concerning when he would come again and what would be the sign of his coming and the end of the age. Now as he sat on the Mount of Olives, the disciples came to him privately, saying, "Tell us, when will these things be? And what will be the sign of your coming and the end of the age?" Matthew 24:3. Jesus revealed to them the trends and conditions that would dominate the world until his return. The seals of Revelation 6 symbolically portray the same conditions in the same sequence Christ had earlier described. Most of Revelation, about 2/3 of its content, is devoted to the 7th seal. The contents of the first 6 seals are found in chapter 6 alone. Chapter 7 interrupts the explanation of the seals to explain that 144,000 of the tribes of Israel, after being spiritually converted, will be protected from the 7 plagues heralded by the trumpet blasts. It also explains that during the Great Tribulation, a great multitude from every nation on earth will repent and turn to God. The events corresponding to the 7th seal dominate the remainder of the book. Why God's judgment is needed. The first 5 seals correspond to adversities that are to afflict vast portions of humanity, including some of God's servants. Between the first and second appearances of Christ, these hardships, having already begun in the lifetime of John, extend to the time of the end. Concerning these particular afflictions, Jesus had earlier warned that all these are the beginning of sorrows, Matthew 24:8, or the birth pains, signifying calamities that would, like labor contractions, escalate in frequency and intensity before the end. He also said, "Do not be terrified, for these things must come to pass first, but the end will not come immediately." Luke 21:9. We should remember that the primary time frame for Revelation's main prophecies is the day of the Lord. It is the day of God's judgment and wrath on the nations. And the occurrences of that time are the specific subject of the 7th seal. The first 5 seals describe conditions that predate the day of the Lord. These are the afflictions that make God's intervention and judgment necessary and just. They describe the particular end-time application of Satan's enduring deception of humanity, his persecution of the saints, and the unending pattern of war, and its horrible consequences that are the fruits of his deception. Under the 6th seal, we see portrayed a stunning display of the signs and wonders of the heavens. This will transpire just before the day of the Lord, announcing God's wrath and judgment are at hand. Now, notice Jesus personally identifying the adversities associated with the seven seals. Take heed that no man deceive you, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. Nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. And there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in divers places. All these are the beginning of sorrows. Then they shall deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall kill you, and ye shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. Matthew 24, 4-9. Let's compare what Jesus told his disciples in Matthew 24 to what the Apostle John saw in vision as each seal was opened. The first seal, false religion. The opening of the first four seals reveals the ride of the notorious four horsemen of the apocalypse. John reports on the first, I watched as the Lamb opened the first of the seven seals. Then I looked, and there before me was a white horse. Its rider held a bow, and he was given a crown, and he rode out as a conqueror bent on the conquest. Revelation 6, 1-2. What is the meaning of this mysterious rider, and what is the object of his conquest? In Revelation 19:11, in a later time frame, Jesus Christ is pictured as returning victoriously on a white horse. Does this seal picture the returning, conquering Christ? Certainly this symbolic horseman bears much outward similarity to Christ at his return, but notice significant differences in the details. Christ is wearing many crowns, verse 12. Not just the one crown this rider wears, and Jesus is pictured with a sword as his weapon, verse 15, rather than a bow. The horseman of the first seal appears similar to the returning Christ, but different. Does he symbolize the real Christ or an impostor? Now let's compare this symbolic horseman to the first warning Jesus gave his disciples in the Olivet prophecy. He warned them, take heed that no man deceive you, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. Matthew 24, 4-5. Jesus warned his disciples that the first adversity they would face would come from deceivers. A few verses later, he explained methods impostors would use as they usurped his name. He reveals that they would stamp his name on a religion that is really a counterfeit Christianity. Then if anyone says to you, look, here is the Christ, or there, do not believe it, for false Christs and false prophets will rise and show great signs and wonders to deceive, if possible, even the elect. See, I have told you beforehand. Therefore, if they say to you, look, he is in the desert, do not go out, or look, he is in the inner rooms, do not believe it. To be consistent with and that was verses 23-26. To be consistent with Jesus' prophecies, the first rider can represent only a deceptive power masquerading as Christ. Outwardly, it will appear Christian, but in reality, it will be, like the three riders that follow, a force of evil and destruction. This deception began in the days of the apostles, but it will reach its greatest fulfillment in the last days. For example, Paul says, a lawless one will be revealed, for whom the Lord will consume with the breath of his mouth and destroy with the brightness of his coming. 2 Thessalonians 2, verse 8. His influence over humanity will be according to the working of Satan, with all power, signs, and lying wonders, and with all unrighteous deception, verses 9-10. At the time of the end, the deception of humanity will be so great that most of the world will be under the sway of a corrupt and counterfeit and idolatrous religious system, one that has rejected the true teachings of the Bible. The second seal, the horror of war. When the Lamb opened the second seal, another horse came out, a fiery red one. Its rider was given power to take peace from the earth and to make men slay each other. To him was given a large sword. Revelation 6, verse 3 to 4. This horse, the color of blood, matches Christ's second coming, or second warning. And you will hear of wars and rumors of wars. Nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. Matthew 24, 6 to 7. When Jesus founded the church, the Roman Empire was enjoying a brief period of peace, but this lasted only a few decades. When Rome was again at war, this pattern was to continue until the time of the end, when it would reach its climax in the battle of the great day of the Almighty. Revelation 16, 14, 19, 11 to 21. But even before that final battle, the book of Revelation indicates that a global warfare will already be underway. It describes massive armies engaged in military actions that will take hundreds of millions of lives. And we can see a lot of that already ramping up in terms of escalation within the U.S. itself, but also globally with China and India. There's a lot of tension around the globe surrounding this. And we see the call for one world government, but more so we see just a conflict between these nations. And this could take us into another global war, potentially. And so, we see a lot of this tension building up, and this tension's only going to grow and grow until the time of the end. And so that is something we definitely need to watch for, and something we need to take note of. And as we see that ramp up, we know that the Lord's coming is approaching. So do take heed and share this with people that need to hear, for he is coming. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.